Hi students, today I am going to do a flipped lesson on website credibility. So the first thing you're going to do to follow along is open up ezbib.com and you should see what is right in front of you actually. If you have not registered for your own account, there's a register button up here and you're going to go ahead and do that. Just use your username and password, the same one as your netbook. So go ahead and do that. Get there. And then if you would go to citation guide up here, and we're going to be looking at the lesson called Website Credibility on the left-hand side, if you want to follow along. And this is what you should see. We're going to just talk about how we know if a website is credible or not, or some red flags we might see if we're not sure. So there's 3 examples of websites that are credible, that could be credible, and are not credible. So we're going to go through those. The first 3 are going to be websites that are credible. So the first one, as you can see, is from CNN. And there are several things that show us that it could be credible. The first one is the author. The author is a journalist and has verifiable credentials, which means if I looked up their name, I should be able to know where they got their degree and what their expertise is. The currency, which tells us that there's a date and that it's current. If it's more than, I would say, 7, 8 years old, you probably want to find a source that's a little bit more up to date. And then also within your article, you should be able to find some related topics that would be able to be recommendations for going elsewhere. So you can see down here that they have some related topics as well. So this is a website that we would consider very credible. Another thing that I forgot to mention was that there are, as I mentioned, citation links, but the publisher, this site provides a publisher that, again, if we would further do some research on that publisher, that we would find out that it is a credible publishing company and it has publishes other resources. Here's another site that's credible, WebMD. It's a great site for finding any information on health or medicine or anything like that. These, again, have the same components that makes a website credible. So again, it has citations and links that can get us set for further research or direct us to further research that's credible. The author has credentials. The currency, it's current and provides a date. And the publisher, again, is found to take responsibility for their content and credible, and is credible. And if we further research that, we would find that they are a credible publishing company. Here is the last one on NASA. And if you take a look at the same components, the author, the currency, the citations, and the publisher, again, you would find that these are all credible, that I can look them up, and that they have credentials, and that the citations and links link me to some even more credible research or resources. Let's go on to some sites that could be credible, could not. You might want to do some more research on them, but they use the same components to evaluate it. So again, the currency, it does provide a publishing date and is current. The authors can vary greatly in their journalistic experience and credentials, therefore it's difficult to know. So we're kind of wondering if they can be trusted at this point, and we would probably want to look them up. The citations and links. News articles don't usually have or require citations, but they should at least provide links for further reading on the subject. And the publisher, we had to find out some more information on them, and we found them to be credible, but they don't necessarily take responsibility for their own content, so it's a little bit difficult to find that information. Here's another example. It's called Zimbio. That could be credible. Again, looking at the components, the author's range and journalistic experience and credentials, and it could be difficult to decide if they can be trusted. It does provide a publishing date and is current. The citations and links. The news articles don't usually have or require citations, but they should at least provide links for further reading. So again, this one's a little bit iffy. The publisher provides a publisher, but they again were found to be credible, but doesn't necessarily again take the responsibility for what they publish. And here's one more, Rotten Tomatoes, which is a really great movie site that I often use, but kind of find out that it might not be exactly credible. The authors vary greatly in their experience again, so it might be difficult to decide if they can be trusted. The currency. Each review provides a publishing date. The citations and links. The news articles don't usually have or require citations again, but they should give links. And again, the publisher didn't necessarily take responsibility for what they provided. So those are 3 examples that you might have to decide if they truly are credible. The last 3 I want to definitely point out because they are not credible. WiseGeek is one, and how we know it is again, if we look at the components, the citations and links, the articles on the site do not cite their information. Following the related article links leads to questionable sources. So when you click on those blue links, they lead me to some sources that don't really help me out and are very questionable. This is a site that publishes massive amounts of information to direct the most amount of web searches to their page to drive up their ad revenue. So their main purpose is not to really provide information for you, but to get you to visit their site and to look around, and hopefully you'll buy something or find something that would help them more than help you. So they're not really concerned with credible information. The authors on the site are only identified by a first name, initial, and last name. Therefore, it might be impossible to search for them and to find out if they are credible. So you might not even be able to find that author anywhere. And the publisher, the site provides a publisher who, upon investigation, was found to be of questionable credibility, and again, does not take responsibility for what they publish. So those might be some questionable things as well. The next one is eHow, and the author on the sites are not given, and it might be impossible to discern if their credentials and authority to speak on any given subject. This article does not provide a publication date at all. Therefore, it's impossible to tell when it was written or when it was even published. The articles do not cite their information again and may lead to questionable content and reveals one of the main criticisms of eHow. This is a site, again, that is really concerned with getting as much information out there as possible in one time. This publisher, again, was found to have questionable credibility and does not take responsibility for the content they provide. The last one is a site. It's an encyclopedia site. This one looks really sketchy, actually. The authors are not even given, so I don't know who they are. It does not provide a publication date. The articles do not cite their information. It just looks like a bunch of different topics that are going to lead me in different areas. And again, the publisher does not take responsibility. The last thing I wanted to mention, is a special note on Wikipedia. Wikipedia is a great source to get started, but should not be your only source or one of your only sources. So when you list your sources, it can be on there, but it really shouldn't be one of your only sources. So it says that it's a good source for information that can have data that is on par with other encyclopedias. However, when writing a research paper, is never favorable to cite general reference sources. Primary and topic-specific resources are always the best sources of information. So this is a great start, but definitely should not be your only source. And Wikipedia might offer you some different areas to go, but those also aren't always reliable. So, and the authors, there's probably a lot of them, and it might be a little difficult to know where to go at that point. So this is just a start to help you get started on the website credibility, and just always something to keep in the back of your mind as you are researching.